New York City entered a new political chapter on Thursday, as Zohran Mamdani was sworn in as mayor before a crowd of thousands. Marking a series of historic firsts while setting the stage for what he described as an audacious effort to govern on behalf of working-class New Yorkers. At 34 years old, Mamdani became the youngest mayor New York City has had in more than a century, as well as the first Muslim and first South Asian person to hold the office, a fact he underscored symbolically by taking his oath of office on a Quran, a moment that drew prolonged applause from supporters gathered alongside elected officials, labor leaders, activists, and national progressive figures, including Senator Bernie Sanders and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. As ceremony celebrated the diversity and cultural richness of the city, Mamdani now leads weaving together music, faith, and political messaging, highlighted by a performance of the labor movement anthem, Red and Roses, by musician Lucy Dacus, a song long associated with workers' struggles for dignity, justice, and not only economic survival, but a fuller, more humane life. In his address, Mamdani framed his victory as part of a broader historical and moral arc, emphasizing that his administration would reflect the lived experiences of everyday New Yorkers and insisting that government should look and live like the people it represents, a phrase that drew cheers from the crowd and encapsulated his promise to center affordability, safety, and opportunity in city governance. He spoke candidly about the difficulty of the task ahead, acknowledging the structural and political obstacles he will face, but argued that the urgency of the moment demands boldness rather than caution, telling supporters that New York can and should be a proving ground for democratic socialist ideas, not just for the country, but for the world. In one of the most forceful moments of the speech, Mamdani addressed critics directly, declaring that he would govern exactly as he had campaigned, unapologetically embracing the democratic socialist label that defined his rise, and rejecting the notion that political survival requires ideological retreat, saying plainly that he was elected as a democratic socialist and would govern as one, and that he would not abandon his principles out of fear of being labeled radical. He reiterated core campaign promises, including efforts to raise taxes on the wealthy and large corporations to fund expansive social programs such as universal childcare and free bus service policies he argued are essential to easing the financial pressure on families struggling with rising rents, transportation costs, and the high price of living in the city. Mamdani placed his administration in the lineage of mayors he said had governed with a moral commitment to the city's most vulnerable residents, invoking former Mayor Bill de Blasio, David Dinkins, and Fiorello LaGuardia as examples of leaders who expanded the role of government in pursuit of equity and social justice, while positioning his own leadership as a continuation and expansion of that tradition, rather than a rupture from the city's past. He struck a noticeably more measured and reflective tone than on election night, when his victory speech had sharply criticized the billionaire class attacked President Trump and framed his campaign as a direct confrontation with oligarchy and authoritarianism, instead focusing during the inauguration on unity, resolve, and the long-term work of governing a deeply complex city. Still, the political stakes of his tenure were never far from view, as Mamdani acknowledged that nearly 1 million New Yorkers did not vote for him in the fiercely contested race against former Governor Andrew Cuomo, who repeatedly warned voters that Mamdani represented an existential threat to the city's economic stability and public safety, arguments that resonated with a substantial portion of the electorate and underscore the polarized political environment Mamdani now inherits.